Welcome, guys. My name is Max Hall, and today we are going to be talking about the Bulgarian split squat. Uh, First and foremost, I regard the Bulgarian split squat as one of the best leg building exercises pretty much ever. There's tons and tons of different variations to get your legs really big, tons of ways to overload them, and I find them to be a very functional exercise. They're probably one of the exercises that most closely mimics walking outside of like the walking lunges or any type of like lunging variation. With that said, though, really great exercise for building single leg strength to help you maintain that mobility and that ability to walk into your older age. It's also a great exercise for accessory exercise for building up your squats, getting some nice big legs, toning up your legs, basically whatever you want to do. The split squat is a great option for doing it. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about split squat form, some split squat regressions, some split squat progressions, and some different split squat focused variations. Let's dive into it. First and foremost, how to do the split squat. So we're going to be looking at a couple different little form cues for the split squats. There's probably a few more things outside of these things, but these are some of the really main key things to be looking at when you're looking at doing a split squat correctly. So the first thing is the 90-90 angle, as you can see that I have marked there with the yellow lines. When you're doing a very basic beginner split squat, you're going to want to maintain that nice 90 angle with your shin to your knee angle in both the front and the back. Now, there is going to be cases where we do break this 90-90 angle, different focused variations. You're going to purposefully break it, as well as like a Bulgarian split squat. You're obviously not going to keep that back leg at a 90-degree angle because lifting up the back foot is naturally going to pull that back leg into more of an acute angle. Now, with that said, it's also not the end of the world if your knee comes forward a little bit, whereas you do want to maintain that knee over your ankle, especially when you are a beginner, unless driving that knee forward a little bit over the toes hurts at all or challenges your ankle mobility or just anything in a way that causes any pain. Don't really worry too much about that front knee coming forward a little bit. And again, if the back knee is a little bit behind the back hip, and that makes it come out of a 90-degree angle a little bit, that's only going to stretch out the hip flexors a little bit more. Again, if it causes no pain, don't even worry about it. But even you know, um, for general beginners, the 90-90 degree angle is a really, really good place to start for your split squat. Now, the next thing is you're going to want to keep your chest up. Now, this is another one that we're going to break the rules a little bit on different focused variations. But when you're a beginner, it's really good to keep that chest up. It's going to keep the load kind of evenly distributed. Even though you're going to want most of the weight in your front foot, it's still good to keep a nice upright chest position as a beginner. Now, the next thing you're going to be looking for is no knee crash. This is something that's going to stay relatively consistent throughout all of the split squats you do. You don't want that knee crashing in towards the inside. You want it directly over top of your toes. That's going to keep you in a nice strong position, and it's going to let you progressively overload, get stronger at these positions, and hopefully keep you relatively pain-free. So, next thing is going to be a deep breath with a big core brace. So, you're going to want to squeeze your stomach like somebody's about to punch you in the gut so you can get a nice core brace. And you're going to want to suck air into that stomach. So, you're going to give a nice big deep breath. Suck air into that stomach, brace your core, and that's going to help you with your balance. You'll notice that a lot of people when they're first starting off as split squats, because it is a exercise that challenges the balance a little bit more and they're not used to bracing their core like that, they get all wobbly and they want to fall over all the time. So we want to help you avoid that by getting a nice big deep breath and a nice core bracing. Now, with that said, the split squat is designed to be a single leg exercise with a focus on building up the front leg, specifically the quads, but you are going to get a little bit of hamstring, a little bit of glute. It's going to be a very well balanced single leg exercise. But with that said, we are focused on that front leg. So we're going to want to put the weight in the front leg. That back leg is almost more of just like a kickstand. You can maybe put like 10% of your weight back there, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, just enough to kind of help hold you up in position. But you're going to want to definitely get around 90% of your weight in that front foot, really load that front foot and really build up those quads. So next thing being, your knee doesn't touch the ground. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world if your knee touches the ground if you have like a soft mat underneath you or like some type of pad for sure. But especially if you're on a hard floor, we don't want to be doing excessive kind of unneeded damage to those knees by just smashing them against the floor. And again, the more controlled you are going down, probably the less of a big deal it's going to be. But when you're a beginner, when you're very new to fitness, there's a good chance you're not going to be super controlled on the way down when you're doing this split squat and you're going to bash your knee into the ground at full speed. Probably not good for it and probably just an injury waiting to happen if long-term damage isn't being done. So just as a general rule, especially when you're new, try not to touch that knee to the ground. Um, um, One other thing I forgot to note with these split squats is not to walk the tightrope. So I want you to kind of look at my feet here, and you'll notice that my feet are about hip width apart. My back foot comes out right from my back hip. My front foot comes right out from my front hip. A lot of times when you see people doing split squats, you'll see them bring their feet almost together, like one foot is over top of the other one, like they're walking on a tightrope. That doesn't put you in a good position to have good balance. So you definitely want to keep your feet hip width apart. Don't walk that tightrope. Don't know why I forgot a slide on that one there. Okay, so regression. So first thing you might be asking is when should I regress my split squat? So that's a really good question. So if you have split squats in a program and they are too challenging for you. So let's say in your program you have 3 sets of 10 split squats and you cannot do 10 split squats. Then you definitely need to do a regression. You probably could drop reps, but generally, as a rule, you want to stick as close to the rep ranges in your program as possible. Um, and doing something a little bit more is going to be better practice for it, anyways. So it's probably better to do a regression and be able to do more reps than to just simply drop the reps. So it depends on what type of program you're doing and kind of what your goal and focus is. But as a general rule, if whatever your program calls for, sets and reps wise, you are unable to complete, then you want to use a regression of the split squat. Now, the second thing is if you are able to complete all of the reps, let's say the reps are 3 sets of 10, you do all 3 sets of 10, but you are like a 10 out of 10 destroyed by those split squats, and you are sore for like 5 days after them, then it's also probably a good idea to pick a split squat regression, um, just to, you know, ease yourself into it, not be as sore, get better practice, and you're also not going to be dreading your workouts. I don't think there's anything as bad as like when you just like you go into the gym, you got some split squats, you're like super pumped up to do some split squats, right? And then you're sore for like 5 days after, and by the time it's time to do split squats again, you just got over being sore from doing split squats. So that's also probably a pretty good reason to regress your split squats. Or if you just feel like your form is super off, like you can't do them properly. So you want to like just practice the form and get stronger before getting into like a basic split squat. And these are obviously like regressions of a bodyweight split squat. But we can also talk a little bit about how to progress some of these as well. So first and foremost is going to be a step up slash assisted step up. The step up is going to mimic the motion of a split squat really, really well. You're going to take a lot of load off of that back foot. You're going to get even more into the front foot. And the nice part about a split squat is it's going to require less range of motion. Or a step up is it's going to require less range of motion. You're going to be able to put it closer to the floor. And the nice part about the step up is you can slowly build up at the height of the step to increase your range of motion and build up your strength that way. Why that way, opposed to building it up with weight, for example, or building it up with reps. Now, the other thing you can do is if you're not capable of doing just like a regular step up, you can also do an assisted step up where you grab onto some type of handlebar, chair, something either in front of you or beside you, just to help you bear a little bit of your weight and kind of really ease yourself into a step up there. And then again, slowly increase the height, slowly build that up until you can manage to do a step up without the assistance. Now, the next thing you can do is you could do an assisted split squat, which is a very similar concept to the assisted step up. Is you can put a bar in front of you, you can kind of like grab on to that bar, and you can use your arms to kind of help support some of the weight, not necessarily pull yourself up per se, but just support some of the weight. So you're not handling your full body weight, your arms are supporting some of it for you, kind of like decreasing your weight. Like if you weigh 200 pounds, maybe your hands support 30 pounds of that, and then you only have to do the split squats with 170 pounds, for example. Probably not super easy math like that because you're not really sure how much your hands are supporting, but week to week, you'll notice that you can support yourself a little bit less and you can get through the reps a little bit more without needing as much assistance from your upper body. The other thing you can do is you can reduce down the range of motion by putting some type of step, plate, whatever it is that's, maybe 1 to 4 inches off the ground, on to the ground. And then the other thing is like put a towel on it. And like earlier I said, like don't touch your knee down to the ground. With a reduced range of motion, assuming you can do it really, really controlled, it's probably good to touch your knee to whatever you're going down to. That way you can keep the reps really, really consistent. So when we're doing like a just regular like split squat, we're trying to get down about as close to the ground as we possibly can without touching the ground. So it's going to be a relatively consistent range of motion. If we're trying to reduce down the range of motion, we're trying not to go as far down, but we don't have like a physical cue to touch. We're going to get into a position where we're not sure like how high or how low we're going. We have no way of gauging it. So by doing this, by setting up some type of step up, and ideally something you can move down. Like if you're using plates, start by stacking 3 plates on top of each other, and then do 3 plates for like a week or two, and then take one of the plates away, and then do 2 plates, and then take another plate away and do 1 plate, and slowly increase your range of motion. But you can reduce down the range of motion to regress the split squat, make it a little bit easier, get into a position where you can actually do it. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is going to be progressions, making these split squats harder. So if just a basic body weight kind of 90-90 split squat isn't hard enough for you, you could do 10 reps per leg and you're like, wow, this is easy. I could easily do like 20 more reps per leg, or 15 more reps per leg, or even 5 more reps per leg, like whatever it is. And you're like, I want to make these harder. Then you're going to want to progress your split squat into either a harder variation, or as we have on the first slide here, we want to add some load. So obviously the most simple way of progressing a split squat is just doing a split squat with dumbbells in your hands, adding some load, making yourself heavier, making it harder. Now, the next progression we can go up to from a bodyweight split squat is a bodyweight Bulgarian split squat, where we elevate our back foot up onto some type of bench, some type of box. Now they have like really fancy Bulgarian split squat rollers where it's like a nice, like soft foam roller that you put your back ankle on. They feel really, really nice. If your gym has one of those and you can do Bulgarian split squats with those, I like 10 out of 10 suggest it. They're like my favorite thing ever. Now, with that said, this is going to be a harder variation. It is going to put you in a position where it's going to try to pitch you forward a little bit. If you are going to keep your chest up, it's going to be a lot harder to do. You're probably going to end up at a little bit more of like a couple degree angle with your back. Now, with that said, it's also going to put a lot more weight on your front foot because it is pushing your weight forward onto that front foot. So it's kind of like adding weight, putting you into a position that demands a lot more mobility. So that's the other thing is like the Bulgarian split squat. If you're struggling with like a regular split squat, I don't suggest progressing to a Bulgarian split squat because of the higher demand on mobility. Definitely, spend some time stretching while you're working on really acing that just like regular split squat, maybe adding some dumbbells to it, getting a little bit stronger with dumbbells for a while, and then you can progress to a Bulgarian split squat. Now, with that said, with the Bulgarian split squat, if you do want to make these harder too, you can add dumbbells. Or if you want to go super challenge mode and you want like the king of leg exercises, we have the Hatfield Bulgarian split squat. So as you can see here, the Hatfield Bulgarian split squat involves not only putting your back foot on a bench or on a box, it also involves putting a bar on your back. Now, there is different like barbell variations of a split squat. Like you could just put a normal barbell on your back and do a Bulgarian split squat, or even just a regular split squat for that matter. I really like the Hatfield Bulgarian split squat method because the safety squat bar will just sit on your back without having to hold it. It'll allow you to hold on to some type of rack, like the rack in front of you or the safeties beside you, and just kind of help you keep balance because it would definitely be a wreck if you had a barbell on your back or a safety squat bar or whatever type of load on your back and you lost your balance and you fell over. So putting your hands on the rack, you're not necessarily supporting yourself and helping support any of the weight. You're still lifting all of that weight with your front foot. You're just creating two extra points of contact, very, very light points of contact, so that you can keep your balance and, not have to deal with such balance demands and hopefully not have to deal with any injuries that would come from a wreck of falling over with the big heavy barbell on your back or heavy demands, whatever weight you're on. The advantage of this really, really awesome variation is that you can load it with weight. A lot of times with people, as they get more advanced, they start to become limited by the amount of weight they can hold in their hands on a dumbbell Bulgarian split squat. So the legs aren't really feeling it that much, but their grip is like, oh, I can't hold on to these weights any longer. You can use straps and stuff like that, but dumbbells get big and clunky when you get around kind of like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even straps don't really help that much. Whereas this variation, you can easily load it up to 200, 250, 300 pounds, whatever you get up to. You could even turn it into a strength exercise and do lower reps, higher weight with this type of variation, which is one of the major benefits of it that you don't really get with the other like split squat variations, is that it can become more of a strength exercise and a heavy loaded exercise, and relatively safely as safely as you could expect from a heavy loaded kind of exercise like this. So I'm a huge fan of the Hatfield Bulgarian split squat. And definitely, if you want to build up some like massive legs and you want to get some like amazing single leg strength, getting up to a Hatfield Bulgarian split squat is like a massive goal. And that should be something that people strive for. Obviously, it's not going to be something that happens right away, but if you can build this in as a main strength exercise or as any type of like accessory exercise one day in your program, you are going to build some massively strong legs, and that's awesome. Oh, final kind of point we're going to cover here today is going to be some different focused variations. So we can actually adjust our posture in a split squat a little bit, and we can put like emphasis on different muscle groups. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, the split squat is going to work your glutes, a little bit of your hamstrings at least, and your quads, but primarily quads, glutes, right? So now with that said, we can change up our positioning a little bit to focus on the quads or focus on the glutes a little bit more. So, if we want to focus on the quads a little bit, we want to drive our knee as far forward over our toe as our mobility allows. You're going to start to become kind of limited by your calf mobility, which is why sometimes if you want even more like quad focus, you can put something underneath your heel, or you'll see some people wearing like heeled squat shoes to elevate their heel a little bit more. That way, it kind of takes away some of the mobility demands on the calf, your ankle mobility, lets you get your knee even further forward, and puts you in a position to like emphasize your quads as much as possible. So if you want more of a quad focused variation, you're going to drive your knee forward and you're going to try to remain as upright as possible. Now, on the very opposite side of the spectrum, if you want a more glute focused variation, excuse the absolute awful picture here. I thought I was in frame. I was not in frame. But you're going to lean over and you're going to kind of emphasize getting as much lean as possible and really driving through your glutes and squeezing your glutes at the top of every rep. Um, so yes, that's going to be a more glute-centric variation. If you want to make it even more glutes focused, as you sit down into the split squat, you can hinge your hips back, and then as you stand up to the top of the split squat, you can hinge your hips forward. That is really going to give you a nice glute emphasis on your split squats there. Again, if you're a beginner, these are more kind of advanced variations specifically for the purpose of focusing on different muscle groups. Like, for example, if you're a power lifter and you have weak points in either your quads or your glutes, you could use variations like this. If you are a bodybuilder and you compete in like IFBB bikini and like they don't really care about like your overall leg development, they just want to see those big old glutes. Well, yeah, you're going to do like a glute variation. Or you're a men's like IFBB competitor and they're like, let me see those quads, and quads are one of your weak points. Then boom, you're going to put in more of a quad focused variation. Maybe you just want big quads or you want big glutes, and that's what you use the variation for. But make sure that you master the basics before moving up to any of the harder variations. Thank you guys for listening. I hope this video has been very educational and helps you take your split squats to the next level and really build them up. Peace out, guys.